a chance for Cleveland. It's Dumais! Left circle, he scores! Jordan Dumais has his first as a professional, and the Monsters, with their third unanswered, grab the lead!
How about that debut for Jordan Dumais? His first couple of games in over 400 calendar days, and his first two pro appearances net a couple of points, including the game winner in Cleveland's huge 3-2 victory to cap Lumberjacks weekend on February the 1st at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Monsters OT here on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. I'm Tony Brown. We've got a big show for you, but right off the hop, we are very excited to introduce our new title sponsor of the show, Century Federal Credit Union. Thank you so much to the fine folks at Century Federal Credit Union for bringing you today's and the rest of your Monsters OT episodes throughout the 24-25 AHL season. But as we always do, let's begin the show today with headlines. Well, let's start with Jordan Dumais, because this was a big deal. A guy that was a prolific scorer in the junior ranks with over 320 points in 4 seasons in the Quebec Major Junior League with the Halifax Mooseheads. We wondered, after the long injury layoff, what it would look like when he took to the ice for the first time as a professional, and it was highly impressive, playing on a line with Stéphane Matteau, the Monsters captain, and of course Joseph Lebate as well. Dumais got more and more comfortable as the 2 games went along, and again, through a couple of games, a point-per-game guy as a pro. Not too shabby a start for him after a lot of anticipation, both for the organization and for the player, in leading to his debut. So let's hear from Jordan Dumais after he netted the winner on February the 1st.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously it's been a long 12, 13 months and all, but at the end of the day, I think it's all past me now, and I'm just grateful to be here, and I was excited for this weekend just to get on the ice, but I mean, it was good that we got the win, and it's been a lot of fun for the past 2 days. So I think just trusting the process. I think everything's meant to be, and at the end of the day, I've been looking forward to this for months now, and they finally came, and I try to take the most out of the opportunities.
A couple other big headlines coming out of Lumberjacks weekend for the Monsters, as that was such a fun time to celebrate a previous era in Cleveland's long and storied professional hockey history. We got to go to the goal crease now and talk about Jet Greaves. This is a player that's meant everything to Cleveland the last 3-4 seasons now, and he's got basically all the goaltending records in franchise history at this point, as he already claimed the wins record previously. Now he's got the appearance record and the career saves record for the Monsters as well. An icon in the history of goaltending in Cleveland professional hockey history, much less the Monsters. He passed NHL regular Calvin Pickard with Edmonton these days for all of those accolades there. So for Jet Greaves, just adding to his Monsters legacy, which is absolutely profound. Let's also talk on headlines here about Trey Fix-Wolanski. He is one of 3 players that was selected to go to the All-Star game in Palm Desert, California, hosted by the Coachella Valley Firebirds. Of course, he is Cleveland's only physical representative at the event, as Luca Delbel-Baluz was recalled and Denton Mateychuk too. And so they are otherwise occupied. They can't make it out to the West Coast for the All-Star festivities. But Trey certainly did, and he's coming off a nice performance, helping the Eastern Conference win the AHL All-Star Skills Challenge. And of course, coming up on the 3rd of February, the actual AHL All-Star Classic, as the divisions will face off in a round-robin tournament for the champion of the All-Star Weekend. But it's a great showcase, not just for Trey himself, his second All-Star appearance here, but really for the entire league. So much talent, and as we know, it's well over 90% of the players that suit up in the National Hockey League pass through the AHL at some point. So a great opportunity to celebrate both the American Hockey League and Trey Fix-Wolanski, and not, too bad a trip out to the West Coast in the middle of winter here in Northeast Ohio. So good stuff there for Trey. Up next on headlines, let's delve into Lumberjacks weekend, because it was hugely impactful for the fans. Monsters drawing over 15,400 for the first game on the 31st of January, and they bested that with 15,724 fans in attendance for the Monsters' sort of revenge victory over Providence the following night on February the 1st. Think of that, over 31,000 combined fans These are National Hockey League numbers. There is no other way to describe them. The Monsters are doing things within the business, and the fans are doing things in terms of supporting their team that, frankly, have never been done before in the American Hockey League's long and storied history, as Cleveland now averaging over 11,000 fans per game. That is unheard of at this level, and all the credit goes to our fantastic fans. Let's keep things moving now on headlines with an injury update, as the Monsters still without Corson Kuhlmans on a long-term basis here. We know that, and James Malatesta, now having missed 14 games with an upper body injury, still remains out. He was hurt back on December the 28th. Monsters without a couple of key guys in Owen Sillinger and Roman Ashant for the last two Cleveland contests, but the good news is those upper body injuries are expected to resolve, and both players will be back in the lineup for Cleveland, or at least we expect them to be back on February the 7th as the Monsters hit the road in Lehigh Valley coming out of the All-Star break. Let's talk about the division standings now as we cap off headlines here with a little glimpse of how things are rounding out in the North Division right now. Laval has really been on a roll lately at 28-11, 2-1. They're on the verge of 60 standings points already, and right behind them, second place Rochester, just a point back. Cleveland currently in fourth place technically, but tied in the point column with third place Toronto, 54 points there for each of those teams, and then Syracuse and Belleville not too terribly far behind as Utica brings up the rear. Before we wrap headlines, let's quickly remind you of the Monsters' next Rock Entertainment Sports Network telecast. It's coming up on February the 23rd. It's a noon broadcast on The Rock, and of course, it's going to be the first game of the season for the Monsters against a division rival in Belleville, so you won't want to miss that. Again, February the 23rd, noon on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Well, that'll do it for headlines. Lots of shows still coming up. We'll find out who's hot across the American Hockey League with Nick Blazer. Of course, our True North Monsters alumni segment is coming up, as well as an extended chat with Trent Vogelhuber, the team's head coach, as he sat down for an upcoming landscape show, which is presented by Hospitality Staffing Solutions. We'll hear about his Ohio roots and how the Monsters have factored into his career as a professional player and coach. It's all coming up on Monsters OT, only here on Rock Entertainment Sports Network, and presented by Century Federal Credit Union. All right, everybody, we're keeping it clean at Whistle Express Car Wash and getting ready for Lumberjacks weekend. We've got Jock Callender with us. Jocko, thanks for swinging by.
Oh, no problem.
All right,
I always like a car wash.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's talk a little bit about cars here. So back in the day, you were playing for Muskegon. And the news comes that the team's moving to Cleveland, right? So what were you driving way back in those days?
I had an S10, Chevy S10, little one with a topper on it, and then a Camry if we were going out for dinner.
Nice. All right, well, let's talk about what you're wearing here now. This is one of your old Lumberjacks jerseys. You got the classic Lumberjacks patch there, and we were just talking before. It goes to show you the condition of the jersey, what hockey used to be like back in the day, and how rough a game it was for a goal scorer like you.
Yeah, there was a lot of marks on this jersey, a lot of black tape marks and cuts and stuff from the sticks. But yeah, this would have been early Cleveland years before the Buzz jersey.
Did you think Cleveland, Ohio was going to become such a big part of your life?
I did not. No, when I was in Muskegon, I didn't know what was next, and then that was kind of a sudden thing too. That Muskegon at the end of that year was. Yeah. We didn't know until late in that year that it was moving to Cleveland.
Well, I mean, I just remember hearing stories from you, but from other people that have been around back in those days. I mean, the Flats was hopping. I mean, the Lumberjacks, that was a hot ticket, and some great teams too.
Yeah, we had great attendance. It was older guys. Like, yeah. The IHL was kind of like, it was the same level as the American League at that time, but it was more guys that were kind of finished playing in the NHL, and just a sprinkling of young guys, whereas the American League is more young guys on their way up, sort of thing.
Lumberjacks weekend, it's always fun to see the old colors and to remember those days. For you, what's maybe like your top memory of playing for the Cleveland Lumberjacks?
Well, I think with the year we went to the semifinals, we lost to Detroit Vipers. Yep. We had a great team. I thought we were going to do it. We had experienced finals, going to the finals, winning in the finals, then losing in the finals in Muskegon. But that was our closest shot that year, where we lost to the Vipers, and they ended up winning it, beating the Ice Dogs of Long Beach Ice Dogs.
There you go, classic teams. Jock, great time. That'll do it. We're through the car wash. For keeping it clean here at Whistle Express Car Wash, that's Jock Calendar. I'm Tony Brown. We got to get downtown for the game. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Special thanks to Century Federal Credit Union, the new presenting sponsor of Monsters OT. Century FCU is the official credit union of your Cleveland Monsters, with 9 locations serving Monsters fans throughout Northeast Ohio. Welcome back to Monsters OT, presented by Century Federal Credit Union. We've still got a lot to get to on the show, but right now, kind of a special treat. Now, you all know, you faithful Rock Entertainment Sports Network viewers, about The Landscape, which is presented by Hospitality Staffing Solutions. And Trent Vogelhuber recently sat down with me for an extended chat about his time here in Cleveland and his roots in Ohio, as it's been key to his hockey career. So let's take a look at a little preview of our chat with Trent. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of The Landscape. It's presented by Hospitality Staffing Solutions. I'm the voice of the Cleveland Monsters, Tony Brown of the American Hockey League, and we're happy to be joined today by the Monsters' head coach in his 3rd season behind the bench for Cleveland. It's Ohio's own Trent Vogelhuber. Trent, thanks for taking some time.
Well, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start right there with the state of Ohio. You know, it's rare for players in this industry to play in one place for a good chunk of their career, but you've gone beyond your playing career. You get to now coach in your home state, and you were born right here in the Cleveland area, right?
I was, yeah. Born here, lived in Hudson until I was 6, and then moved over to Columbus. But crazy how it's worked out, just through youth hockey, college, playing pro, and then coaching, being in all 4 corners of the state, and obviously families from here, wife's from here, so we love it. And it's a little bit of a coincidence how it's worked out that way, but we couldn't be more thankful.
Yeah, it really is unique. I mean, let's go a little deeper on that. You know, born Northeast Ohio, grew up Central Ohio, but you were drafted by the Blue Jackets in Columbus, right, when they were hosting the draft. It must have been kind of a crazy moment.
Yeah, it was. 07, God, a long time ago now. Columbus hosted the draft, and I was coming off my 3rd ACL surgery at that point, so battled a lot of injuries early on in my career, and I'd kind of gotten wiped off of the central scouting boards, which is the kind of predictions for the draft picks, just with the injury history there. So I was I was a little pessimistic about my draft chances, and Columbus had the last pick in the draft, 211. Mr. Irrelevant, they do not give you a car when you were drafted last in the NHL draft, unfortunately, but they picked me up, and first player from Central Ohio drafted in the National Hockey League, happened to be by the local team, the Blue Jackets, while the draft was in Columbus. So really special moment there, and I was thankful to have been picked by the team that I've been rooting for there for the previous 10 or so years.
Yeah, and since then, Central Ohio's produced a whole bunch of players that have gone on to play in the National Hockey League. And, what does it mean to you to be a part of that group that really took hockey to a new level in this state from where it was maybe when you were growing up?
Yeah, it's a point of pride for me. I mean, Cleveland's got a much richer hockey history, and it's where I learned to skate and play originally. And then having grown up in Columbus, we were taking pretty bad beatings there in youth hockey by the teams in Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Detroit, and then I was on the first junior Blue Jackets AAA team, and we were able to gain some pretty good ground there in the couple years I was there, and just to see the quality of players and quantity that have gone to D1 college, gotten drafted, and are playing in the National Hockey League from Columbus specifically has been pretty special, and it's a point of pride for me to be, the first one drafted from that group, the first one to go to D1 college, and I still have a lot of close relationships with those guys that are still playing today.
Well, let's go back to your college years at the University of Miami, Ohio there, still in the great Buckeye State. But what did that time mean to you? It obviously put you on a path for your career here, but what makes that program so special to you?
Yeah, it was. We had some real good years, 4 years there, NCAA tournament, all 4, Frozen Four twice, national championship once, lost in overtime there. So, and our teams were incredible. We had a ton of guys go pro, guys from my teams that are still playing in the National Hockey League, and just taught me how to be a winner and how invested you have to be in your teammates to have success. Some of those guys are still my best friends in the world, and 4 of the best years of my life for sure at Miami down there, and ultimately helped me to get to where I am today. Obviously the playing career, but the tools that I still use today, and as far as coaching.
Welcome back on Monsters OT, presented by Century Federal Credit Union here on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. I'm Tony Brown. Still to come on the show, we'll check in on our Monsters alumni segment, which is presented by True North Convenience Stores. But right now, it's time to catch up with Nick Blazer. The Monsters social media manager will tell us who's hot across the American Hockey League.
All right, appreciate it, Tony, and welcome everyone back to a segment of Who's Hot around the American Hockey League. I'm Nick Blazer, diving right into things with the Atlantic Division. The Springfield Thunderbirds taking the team to watch spot in their last 10 games, 7-2-0-1 with a 5-game point streak, currently 4-0-0-1 throughout that stretch, dating back to January 18th. Currently sitting in 6th place in the Atlantic Division, 10th in the Eastern Conference at a record of 21-17-2-2 for 46 points, and are currently tied with Syracuse in the Eastern Conference. Upcoming games for them, a home-and-home with the Providence Bruins, then they travel along to Grand Rapids to take on the Griffins, and then complete that road trip with the Milwaukee Admirals. Their player to watch, Matt Luff, the forward, a 5-game point streak, 3 goals and 4 assists over that span, and currently in 2nd place in Springfield's top point getters at 33 points. Then moving on to the North Division, our team to watch, Laval Rocket, in their last 10 games, 8-1-1 record with a 5-game win streak dating back to January 22nd. Monsters managed to go 1-1 against Laval in their home series back on January 10th and 11th. They'll meet the Rocket on the road on March 21st and 22nd to finish off the season series there in late March. Laval currently in 1st place in the North Division, 2nd in the Eastern Conference at a record of 28-11-2-1 for 59 points, only trailing the Hershey Bears by 2 points there in the conference. And what a massive turnaround for them. Last season, a record of 33-31-6-2 for just over a .500 winning percentage. Good for dead last in the North Division. Now find themselves in the top spot here just over the halfway mark of the season. And the player to watch for the Rocket this season, Alex Barry-Belay, the forward, 10 points in the last 7 games played, good for 3 goals and 7 assists throughout that stretch, with 2 power play goals as well. Team leading in point getting at 35 points, good for a point per game, as he'll be chasing his best season back in the 22-23 year when he was with Syracuse, where he had 84 points, good for 24 goals and 60 assists on the season. Moving along now to the Central Division, once again the Chicago Wolves in their last 10, a 6-4 record, currently on a 4-game win streak, which started back on January 25th. Their most recent loss coming to the Cleveland Monsters right here inside Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse back on January 23rd. Currently sitting in 4th place in the division, 10th in the Western Conference at 23-16-2, good for 48 points as they are tied with Abbotsford in the conference and trailing Milwaukee by just 1 point within the divisions. Monsters are currently 1-0-1 against Chicago this season with a 6-5 overtime loss and a 3-1 win back on January 22nd and 23rd. And they will be traveling to Chicago here in the coming weeks to take on the Wolves on the road February 15th and 16th. Their player to watch, defenseman Ty Smith, 4 points in the last 4 games played, 4 assists throughout that stretch with a +4 rating. And that started back on January 25th with a 3-2 overtime win against the rival Rockford Ice Hogs, and he is in 3rd place amongst D-men in point getting on Chicago's squad at 15 points, but a team-leading +15 rating. Finishing things off with the Pacific Division, the Abbotsford Canucks for the 2nd straight episode will be our team to watch. In their last 10 games played, an 8-2 record with their most recent win being a 5-1 victory over Calgary on home ice. They currently sit in 6th place in the Pacific Division, 9th in the Western Conference at 23-17-1-1, good for 48 points, tied with the Chicago Wolves and trailing Milwaukee by a point in the conference. Still a very tight Pacific Division so far here, as just 6 points sit between the 2nd place Coachella Valley and 6th place Abbotsford, so a ton can happen here in the second half of the season. Their player to watch, Atu Ratu, 14 points in the last 8 games played, dating back to January 11th. Just one pointless game throughout that stretch back on January 18th against San Jose. He is second best on the team with point getting at 24, third in assists at 15, and he is currently chasing last season's career best, 52 points. Well, that'll do it for Who's Hot around the American Hockey League. I'm Nick Blazer. Thank you for joining me. We're going to throw it back to Tony with more Monsters OT presented by Century Federal Credit Union.
Well, thanks very much, Nick. Great job as usual. With that, we'll take one more quick break here. When we come back, we wrap the show with our Monsters Alumni segment. It's presented by True North Convenience Stores, and it's next right here on Monsters OT, presented by Century Federal Credit Union on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Welcome back, everybody. One last time on Monsters OT. It's presented by Century Federal Credit Union, only here on Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Tony Brown back with you for our Monsters Alumni segment, which is presented by True North Convenience Stores. Fast, friendly, clean. And today we're looking to the goal crease at Sammy Idacalio. Now, here's a guy from the era of Monsters hockey in which the team was affiliated with the Colorado Avalanche, but he played 3 seasons with Cleveland and was really the backbone of the team from 2012 to 2015. A great American League career spent completely with the Monsters, 79 appearances over those 3 seasons, and of course a long playing career in his home country of Finland in Liga, which is the top pro league over there. He helped his team Karpat claim the league's bronze medal back in 2015-16, currently competing professionally in Slovakia. Longtime Monster fans definitely know the name, the great Sammy Idacalio. He is our Monsters Alumni segment spotlight this week, courtesy of our friends at True North Convenience Stores. Well, that'll do it for another edition of Monsters OT. Lots of thank yous to hand out. First and foremost to our new title sponsor. Thank you so much for coming aboard. To Century Federal Credit Union. Of course, thanks to Jeremy Hawks, to Leo Simone, the rest of our outstanding crew. For Nick Blazer, I'm Tony Brown saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time only here on Monsters OT, presented by Century Federal Credit Union on Rock Entertainment Sports Network.